almost at 2018. Good afternoon, everybody. This is ZS6 OPS opening this afternoon's weekly net, which is run on 145.625 from 17:30 till approximately 18 hours 30, depending on what it is that we actually do. Firstly, let's see. I've got Vaughan on Zoom so far. That's ZS6KOE, but I'm sure he will come back to me on air. And we've got Robert. Wow, Robert, now the question is, what is that call sign of yours? I will have to go and look it up there quickly. ZS6SDG. 6SDG. There we go. Right, any other call-ins for this afternoon's net? Please state your call sign and whether you got traffic or not, and just end with an over, please. ZS6 OPS standing by. Vaughan, you can call up as well. You guys can call up on air as well. Go ahead.
GRG, no traffic, over. No traffic, over. 006 Foxtrot, Papa Sierra, no traffic, over.
Vaughan, you look like a statue. Okay, I can't hear you call up. All right, off the bat, there we go. We got what, 6, 7, 8 people that have come up, and let's have a look and see who are we going to acknowledge here. Firstly, we're going to acknowledge Whiskey, November 2 Whiskey. John from the United States has called up, and he says he is on local police duties his side, so he'll just be monitoring. He won't participate, but he will be listening for as long as he can. Then, as I said, we've got ZS6KOE. We've got Robert as ZS6SDG on Zoom. Robert, I take you can't call up on air at the moment. Then I'm acknowledging ZS6JRM, ZS6JNG, ZS6GRG, ZS6SNY, ZS6 Foxtrot Papa Sierra. And on Zoom, I've also got Stefan, Zulu Romeo 6 Sierra Charlie, that has just joined us. And I see ZS6SJR has also joined us on Zoom. So, Stefan, if you want to call up on 2 meters, Stephen, you as well, please go ahead, as well as any other stations. ZS6 OPS standing by.
Hope you're well, that's fine. First time joining today, so yeah, I'll just have a quick listen to see what's happening, and then I'll take it from there. That's 6 Sierra Charlie.
Okay, Zoom guys, I have got you muted so that we don't have any feedback, okay? All right, acknowledging Stefan there, you did come up, but I think somebody may have doubled with you. Any other call-ins? ZS6 OPS standing by. I've got 1734.
ZS6 I'm the one that doubled. No traffic this side.
All right, acknowledged. Let's see if anybody's up on Echolink by any chance. Any Echolink users? I'll give you a long pause and break before I return. Let's see if anybody's on Echolink. ZS6 OPS standing by for Echolink users. right, no further callings on Echolink. Let's move on. Any other callers? 2 meters, please go ahead. ZS6 OPS.
ZS6 SEO with traffic.
All right, Norman, you stating with traffic. All other stations stand by. Let's hear what Norman has got there. ZS6 SEO, ZS6 OPS.
Good afternoon all. Ted, I'm just busy with some stuff here, so I'm going to be listening, but I'm not going to be partaking in the next night, so it's past me by, but I will be listening. ZS6 OPS and ZS6 SEO.
All right, Norman, good stuff. For clarity, please remember that with traffic means you have got emergency traffic to transmit. Guys, if you just want to listen, just give your call sign, no traffic and listening. That's also good. Then at least I know you're just listening there. Not a problem at all. You go ahead there, Norman. Listen as long as you possibly can. Any other callings? ZS6 OPS standing by. Stephen 6SJR on Zoom. Just be advised that your microphone isn't actually on, on Zoom. Just give me a thumbs up if you copied. All right, no further calling. Stephen, ZS6SJR, if you are copying this, just be advised that your Zoom microphone is not active at the moment at all, so I can't even mute you there. I thought I'd just let you know, even though you will come back to me on 2 meters. All right, good stuff. I think Margie's about to join us. Margie did forget the Zoom password, so I've sent that to her. Let's do a final round of callings for this afternoon's net. ZS6 OPS standing by.
ZS6 Bravo Oscar Sierra Nova.
Okay, good stuff. Acknowledging Margie joined us now on Zoom. All microphones on Zoom are muted. And good afternoon, Kobus. Glad to hear that you have come up. And that, of course, is Zulu Sierra 6, Bravo Oscar Sierra. Right, definitely. We got 1 minute to go. 1 minute to go. I'm going to leave a long pause for any Echolink users. Please go ahead. There's 6 OPS listening. Right, I think I've left a long enough pause for Echolink users. 17:39, and usually we do kick off at 17:40. 10 minutes on the call-ins for the latecomers. Guys, if we can be a little bit more timely in terms of our planning or our time management, and get those call-ins in 5 minutes, we can kick off earlier. So let's hear any other call-ins. ZS6 OPS still standing by.
ZS6 OPS, ZS6 Sierra Troy. Good afternoon, Chad. I don't know if I doubled somebody out there earlier. But yeah, good evening to you for listening and see what's going on. ZS6 OPS, ZS6 Sierra Trolley.
Hi, there we go. Okay, Stefan, yeah, I got you there. I did acknowledge you on the Zoom side, but now at least everybody else can hear that you come up on 2 meters. Fantastic. Final call, guys. I've got 17:40. Any other call-ins? ZS6 OPS, standing by. All right, good stuff. Nothing else heard there. So let's kick off this afternoon. I originally wanted to literally just do nothing except recordings, but then my eye caught something which my PC has now lost, and it had to do with privacy and the security of personal information. And I think this ties up with the bulletin of today, funny enough. If I can find the bulletin, I will read it to you. For those of you that have not heard the SAL bulletin. Under the heading of SAL ICASA Liaison Committee meets, there was made mention, first and foremost, if you guys have actually paid for a 5-year license and you only received a 1-year license, you are to send an email with your name, your full name, your call sign, your license number and proof of payment. I'll spell to you. Delta Bravo, Echo, November, Charlie Echo, at icasa.org.za. If you missed that, please go and visit the SAL website. I'm sure it'll be posted up there at some stage. Okay, ZS6 OPS returning, they say, and the problem will be rectified in 5-year license will be sent to you. But the second part of this particular posting fascinates me because it says, if you experience interference on VHF and UHF amateur radio frequencies caused by a non-licensed person or groups, it is important to lodge a complaint with ICASA. Complaints must be in writing and can be lodged on the ICASA website, whiskey.icasa.org.za. Or a complaint form can be completed and emailed to consumer@icasa.org.za. Give as much detail as possible, including any references to the nature of interference and information that can lead to the identification of the interfering person or system. Send a copy of the complaint to the ICASA regional manager. Okay, it makes note that the SAL has requested ICASA to supply an updated list of regional managers and to include their contact details. And once they have that, they'll post that on the SAL website as well. So, guys, one of the reasons that I actually I want to bring this in as a conversation topic this afternoon is purely because of the fact that those of you that are on some of the WhatsApp groups, you'll notice that we take the mickey out of the Baofeng radio. That's right. That's CCS radio. I suppose that the diplomatic way would be to call it a CCR, cheap Chinese radio. Yeah, we do take the mickey out of the Baofeng intentionally. And I think it's time just to clarify why some of us, myself in particular, like to take the mickey out of the Baofeng. Well, it's quite simple. It's readily available in every single Chinese mall, Chinese shop, various factory outlets, and even some of the well-known and well-branded outdoor retail stores. I've got to be careful because a couple of weeks ago I mentioned outdoor like warehouses, and that of course now is a company name. So I have no intention of naming and shaming, but purely pointing out that in general terms the retail stores tend to make these radios available. So let's clear this timer from ZS6 OPS. Right, ZS6 OPS returning, and of course definitely going to throw a spanner in the works, upset many listeners out there, make them annoyed because I'm going to shoot down the Baofengs, and well, all I can say is good luck. Enjoy it, but please listen carefully. It's not so much that the radio itself is problematic. There are many reports that on the technical side, it's not as good as what we expect within, let's say, the amateur equipment and definitely on the commercial equipment levels as well. So it's not so much on the technical side, but it is more along the lines of the availability, which is why I tend to shoot the Baofeng down. So what is the problem with the availability? It's quite simple. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry, his auntie, his uncle, and his aunt can go out and purchase these radios. Now, the average man in the street is unaware of the regulations. I don't want to go through the regulations. I just want to cover this in a very general and broad sense of availability, and then eventually tied in with security and privacy. Because of the fact the radios are available, the average man in the street can tune up on the Baofeng. In most cases, they're the UV5R, it's got a VFO, and they somehow just pick a frequency. And they find that this frequency talks to that radio, they use it, with absolutely no regard to the particular frequency in use, which commercial aspect, or airband for that matter, or amateur. There's absolutely no knowledge, no understanding of what they in actual fact are doing, which is the reason why the amateur bands, and many of the guys are starting to come up, especially on the 2-meter amateur. We're getting a lot of background voices coming through, slightly off frequency. You can hear these are non-amateurs. They don't necessarily come through the repeater because a lot of them don't understand the tones and the codes and all the rest of it. But those that actually do it, let me clear the timer. ZS6 IPS returning. Those that actually do somewhere along the line have a little bit of understanding, they can inadvertently or intentionally insert the tones and open up the repeaters and get a far better range. But more importantly on this aspect is when radio amateurs themselves are taking these radios or promoting the use of these radios to non-amateurs. Now, that's specifically like on the UV5R and one or two others that have got the VFO. A lot of the other guys are also being able to get the 555s and the 7s and the 8s and the programming cables. And again, they just pick a frequency and they utilize it. So any person with a little bit of common sense will understand, but hang on. By doing this, it's going to create a problem for other users, legitimate users, licensed users. You know, guys, the amateur license fees are not expensive annually, but the commercial licenses are extremely expensive. And when a company gets frequency spectrum, they pay megabucks annually for those spectrums. And it's interfering with other networks, not just the amateurs. So when we in actual fact promote, recommend, suggest, or even sell our own radios to non-licensed, I don't want to pick on radio amateurs, to non-licensed persons, we are really and truly creating an interference problem. But that's not the topic of today. It's privacy and security. Now just stop and think for a minute. This net that is run on a Sunday afternoon is specifically designed and intended for radio amateurs who have an interest in emergency communications. And there's many times listening to people, listening to both non-amateurs, the average man in the street, listening to the guys that don't normally call in on this net on a Sunday afternoon. What I've realized is there's such a lack of understanding with regards to what emergency communications actually entail. The relevance and the importance of emergency communications. Time out, timer. Right, Z6 IPS returning. A lot of people don't realize just how important emergency communications are, or to be more specific, more direct, and more accurate. The importance of communications during times of emergencies. And when non-licensed people or people that are not licensed for specific frequencies have in their possession radios that they use for general chatting and all the rest of it, how it can affect the communications during an emergency. Those that have attended nets and discussions with me over the last couple of years will know that I brought up the privacy and the security on a regular basis, and I want to bring it up again. During an emergency, and in particular during a disaster, one of the areas of communication, and we will cover this point again when we come back to the various types of nets, in particular the health and welfare or the welfare net, the radio net that deals specifically with health and welfare related matters. On those types of nets, the communication that can take place between parties can and most definitely will include personal details of other people, which could include ID numbers, first names, addresses, telephone numbers. And that information in the wrong hands can have detrimental impact on those people's lives. Not to mention that the family members of those people themselves might not even be aware of the fact that their loved ones are involved or have succumbed to injury or worse during the emergency or disaster. And when we've got average people in the street that have got these radios in their possession and they are listening to the emergency communications, whether it be on a day-to-day basis or during a large-scale emergency or disaster, TOT, ZS6 IPS returning. The simple fact that the average person in the street is able to hear these personal details being transmitted really goes against all security issues for that affected person. Not to mention being in violation of that individual's right to privacy. Having said that, I want to encourage every single listener today to seriously consider what I've had to say and to have a good look at the impact that these radios can and most definitely will have in the hands of non-licensed individuals. You know, from a radio amateur or amateur radio perspective, the general consensus being, look, I've got an interest in this, I've got an interest in that, I've got an interest in something else, and well, you know, if I can't talk to my mate right now, I'll talk to him in 10 or 15 minutes, and not a problem, it's not a train smash. However, radio amateurs still have a responsibility, or should have a responsibility, even if it's just a moral, mental responsibility, to be prepared to assist in times of emergency and or disaster. And I encourage radio amateurs to start becoming responsible in terms of the frequencies and how we in actual fact go about doing what we are doing, 90% of the time it's probably subconscious or subconsciously happening. I hope that a message will go out. Never mind the interference. It's an important factor. But the privacy and security of other people, of affected people, of victims, of injured, and of the family members of those people, especially where there is loss of life, I think that trumps all cards. That is of paramount importance. And I believe that each and every single one of us should take this in a very serious light. Time out, timer. All right, good stuff. There we go. We're coming up 17:56. Not a problem at all. I'd just like to acknowledge John Peterson, Whiskey November 2 Whiskey. He's come up on Zoom. He is on duty in the United States at the moment, and we're busy watching him walk around as he listens to the net. So welcome, John. Glad to have you on net again this afternoon. And of course, you are muted and all the rest of it. So there we go. Okay, guys, I'm going to do a round of call-ins for any other latecomers, and then I'm going to do a round. We won't do a round robin. I'm going to call you in and let's see if there's any questions that you have or any statements you'd like to make. So let's kick off. Any other additional persons that would like to be added to this week's list? ZS6 OPS, standing by. All right, I think I left a long enough gap for Echolink users as well. So let's kick off from the top of the list there. John, I'm going to start with Vaughan, but if you give me a thumbs up or thumbs down, I'll call you in next if you give me a thumbs up. Otherwise, I'll skip you. Otherwise, it might look a bit weird you walking around talking into your phone. All right, so let's kick off with you. Whiskey November 2 Whiskey, ZS6 OPS. John, let me just unmute you. Okay, go ahead, John.
Well, good evening, everybody. Greetings from stateside. Good to be part of the net. I am walking around downtown patrol right now, and so we'll just keep the transmission limited. But greetings to everybody on the net. Great to be on today. I got beautiful weather over here, a little bit of abatement from the heat. We were in the mid-30s, 35, 36 this week. Right now we're at 22 degrees centigrade, so we've got a great break from the heat. Makes for a beautiful day. Greetings to everybody, and Chad, carry on. Thanks for letting me jump in. Whiskey November 2 Whiskey.
All right, good stuff. Thanks, John. I hope everybody could hear that. Unfortunately, I still don't have the link up between the PC and the radio as yet. We're still finalizing the comms rack, so hopefully in the next week or two, that one will come up. John, thanks very much. Be safe whilst you are on duty. Yeah, definitely have an LZ there, so on a swivel, and all the rest of it. Let's move on. ZS6 KOE, ZS6 OPS on 2 meters, eh?
ZS6 OPS and the team. Good evening, everybody, and I have no presence. ZS6 OPS and ZS6 KOE.
All right, good stuff. Thanks a lot there. Robert, I'm going to unmute you. Just remember call sign. Anything you want to add, please go ahead. ZS6 SDG, ZS6 OPS.
ZS6 SDG, thank you, Chad. No, there's nothing from my side. ZS6 SDG, ZS6 OPS.
All right, good stuff there. Good, good backwards or back to front.
Sorry.
No problem, but we got you there, Robert. Definitely got you. ZS6JRM, when you come back to me, let me know if you got your family listening in as well, please, from ZS6OPS.
ZS6OPS, ZS6JRM. Chat for your no comment. No, my family's not listening in. They're all in their little cages. So back to you, chat. ZS6OPS, ZS6JRM.
All right, good stuff, James. James, I've got a solution for them being in the cages and not listening. When they're not there, you take little speakers and you mount it in each of the rooms. Run a cable through to your radio and couple that up into your microphone output. And yeah, every week, just put in a decent amplifier between the radio and the speaker output so that when the net does come up, all you do is you jack the volume up that they can't hear anything else but the net. All right, thanks, James. Let's move on. John, ZS6JNG, ZS6 Oscar Papa Sierra.
ZS6OPS for the net from ZS6JNG. Chad, yeah, I think you well know my feelings on these things and what, as I said last week, what we've been through in the last 30 odd years certainly makes it something that is very, very important, and the whole idea of privacy is extremely important when you come to dealing with a disaster type situation. Yeah, I don't know what else I can say about that, but it is one of those things that's close to my heart, and we've been through this before. Back to you there, Chad, from ZS6JNG.
Good stuff. Thanks, John. Mr. George, ZS6 Golf Romeo Golf, ZS6 Oscar Papa Sierra.
ZS6OPS, ZS6GRT. Yeah, interesting bulletin. The fact that you can go into a shopping mall and buy these radios. So, yeah, it definitely gets you thinking about what can go wrong. Okay, that's what I have to say. But back to the group. ZS6OPS.
Okay, thanks, George. Adrian, ZS6 Sierra November Yankee, ZS6OPS.
ZS6OPS, ZS6 Sierra November Yankee. Nothing further to add. Interesting on this subject. Please take it away from me. Yes and what?
Thanks, Adrian. Pierre, Zulu Sierra 6 Foxtrot Papa Sierra from ZS6OPS.
Good evening, Chad, and everybody on this net. Yeah, thank you very much for the information. Noted. That's all from my side. No other questions. Thank you very much, Chad. ZS6OPS from ZS6FPS.
Okay, thanks, Pierre. Stefan, at the end of the net, stay on Zoom and you and I will have a chat there as well. Zulu Romeo 6 Sierra Charlie, Zulu Sierra 6 Oscar Papa Sierra.
ZS6OPS, ZS6 Sierra Charlie. Yeah, thank you. I will stay on afterwards. Yeah, regarding the topic, look, it's quite an interesting one you've got there. I thought about the same thing in the week, and like you say, it's inexpensive radio. Anybody can go and buy it, and yeah, the privacy that goes with it. Like I said, we paid for the license, we did everything we have to, and the rest of us just get them. But yeah, there we go. Thank you. Now the questions for me. ZS6OPS, ZS6 Sierra Charlie.
Okay, thanks, Stefan. Now to move on to Steve, please change your name on your Zoom so I know it's Stephen. ZS6SJR, ZS6OPS. Yeah, on 2 meters.
ZS6OPS, ZS6SJR. 1 second.
Good, good. I'm getting feedback here.
All right, Stephen, let me unmute you here and let's see if we can do it this way. Turn your 2 meters off volume. ZS60R, ZS OPS, go ahead. All right, now it looks like, Stephen, you've dropped out of Zoom completely. Come back to me on 2 meters. ZS6 OPS.
Because my mic shouldn't have been on anyway. But from my side here, I know the bell thing is bad news. As you know, with the RE, all the training for the new hams, a lot of people have those radios, and if people do and they want to learn to get their license or to do their license, obviously, they must contact the West Rand Club or any club in the area and give the club a shout, and obviously they can assist them in getting the license and doing things correctly. There's been a lot of feedback coming to but unfortunately, I know I've noticed also in the shops you can buy those things by the dozen. They'll sell those radios to anybody, and unfortunately, it seems to be no repercussion on it. But nothing else from my side. It's also good to have John from the States. Greeting to you there, that side. I see you on duty. But everybody, have a good day and a good evening. 73 Z6. Okay, Z6S, John.
All right, thanks a lot there. Good stuff, Stephen. Now, SCO said he was listening. I'm going to give Quibus an opportunity, although I think he's already at church there. And if I don't get anything from him, guys, just stand by. I want to ask Margie if she's got any questions. I'll unmute her as soon as I decide to end the Echolink side and Bossa side. So, Quibus, are you still there? ZS6BOS, ZS6OPS? Okay, Margie, any questions?
For once in my life, Chad, I have nothing to say.
Holy mackerel. Okay, basically I asked Margie if Margie had any questions, and the reply was quite simply, for the first time in her life, none. Wow, there we go. John, I think you better get up off the floor. Get up off the floor, John. You can't fall over like that. Sorry, not John Peterson, John Groom. John, Whiskey November 2 Whiskey, just to give you some background. Margie, John, and I go back basically 40 years, so we know Margie very well. All right, good stuff, guys. That's fantastic. I'm glad that we had a fair number of people up on net again. For everybody else that listens in, please, guys, rather give us a call sign. Let me know that you are there. Spread the word. Everybody and anybody is welcome to come and join this net on a Sunday afternoon. It's open to all radio amateurs. On the Zoom side, it's open to anybody and everybody. Any person can come up on Zoom. If you're not an amateur on Zoom, you naturally won't be able to transmit out over the amateur band. If you are an amateur and you're not near a radio, well, jokes aside, if Robert and John can come up on Zoom, and John being out of the country, so can everybody else. No excuses. You don't need to be a member of anything, anybody, or otherwise. The only thing you need on the 2 meter side is your ECRN license. For those of you that are listening at the moment, next week, I want to go through terms and definitions. Yep, exactly that. Terms and definitions. And that will be specifically related to disaster relief and emergencies. There's a couple of terms there that I think we should be aware of, so that we all talk in the same language and there's no misunderstanding. Remember, MCOM is specifically, or has a specific outcome requirement, which is direct, correct, accurate communications that are short and sweet. In other words, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. And one of the easiest ways to kiss somebody is make sure you talk in the right language. And I think those of you that are married and in relationships, you'll relate to that, and you'll also understand the fun that I threw in with it. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you yet again for tuning up. As I say, this net is run every Sunday afternoon from 17 hours 30 for approximately 1 hour. And moving forward, I'd like to say to you, have a good week, enjoy the week, be safe, be prepared, and of course, be happy. This is ZS6IPS now releasing 145.625 for general use. Cheers, everyone.